To install the AdventureWorks database for the Week 4 exercises, make sure the AdventureWorks tarball has been unzipped from the sample database's zip file that was distributed at the beginning of this course. Once it's been unzipped, go to pgadmin, then go to Object, Create, Database. Set the database name as AdventureWorks and click Save. This will create the AdventureWorks database inside of our server. So now, right-click on the AdventureWorks database and select Restore. This is going to ask us to select the backup file that we want to use to restore the database. Go to the File Name box and select File using the button to the right-hand side. Once you've found the folder where your sample databases are located, change the Format drop-down from Backup to All, and then select the AdventureWorks tarball and hit Select. Next, under the Role Name drop-down, scroll down and select Postgres as the role name. Finally, select the Restore button to begin restoring the database. The AdventureWorks database is a lot larger than the DVD rental database, so it may take a few seconds. But once it's done, go ahead and refresh the AdventureWorks database, and then open up the schemas. And you'll actually see that the AdventureWorks database consists of several different schemas. You'll recall from our earlier videos that a schema is just a logical grouping of tables. What you'll probably notice is that these schemas appear to be paired up with each other. For instance, HR and Human Resources, or PR and Production, or SA and Sales. If we open up the Sales schema and then go to Tables, we'll see a bunch of tables that seem to be related to sales data, such as credit cards, customers, salespeople, sales territories, and stores, and so forth. However, if we open up the SA schema and then go into the Tables section, there actually are no tables. However, if we open up the Views section, we'll see that there are over a dozen views. Views are basically virtual queries that are stored as part of the database definition. They're queries that we can use and reuse over and over again. The views in the SA schema are probably used for a variety of purposes in the sales schema for loading and organizing data, but we're not actually going to need them for this course. So you can ignore the two-digit schemas like SA and PU, PR, PE, and HR, and just pay attention to the main schemas like Human Resources, Person, Production, Purchasing, and Sales. To get a sense of the size of the AdventureWorks database, let's click on the database, then right-click and say Generate ERD. And look at the ERD that gets generated. Now use the Zoom to Fit button on the top toolbar to zoom out, and you'll quickly gain an idea of just how big the AdventureWorks database is. I can barely see all of these tables. There are dozens of them, and they're organized across 5 main schemas: Human Resources, Person, Production, Purchasing, and Sales. Here's another ERD that's perhaps a little bit easier to see. You can see that the diagram is broken down into several color-coded sections, and these are our schemas. We see Production, Person, Purchasing, Human Resources, and Sales. There's also a DBO schema, but that's not actually in our sample database for this course. As you can imagine, the Production schema logically groups all of the tables that relate to the products that AdventureWorks sells to our customers. This includes the products themselves, their photos, categories and subcategories, documentation, models, and so on and so on. Meanwhile, the sales schema stores the data related to our sales that we produce. For instance, salespeople, sales territories, sales orders, and so on. The person schema stores personal information about our employees, our customers, vendors, and other people who are related to AdventureWorks, either through business or through employment. The purchasing schema carries information about our vendors and purchase orders from the vendors into AdventureWorks. And then finally, the Human Resources schema carries information about our employees, their departments, and when they work. So, as you can see, the AdventureWorks database is pretty complex. There's a lot going on with many relationships across many different tables. But don't let that worry you. For our exercises, we're going to be focusing on specific subsets of tables and specific scenarios with those subsets. You'll never be asked to write a SQL query that spans all of these tables. Okay, that's your very basic introduction to the AdventureWorks database. Now, we're ready to start running some exercises.